This took place in Czechoslovakia, in the town of Pressburg, about a century ago. Perla was known for her kindness. Her whole life she cared about others as much as she cared about herself, be it her children, her friends, a poor neighbor, or an abandoned old lady. But what was particularly dear to her was to care for the Jewish souls who already departed this world and for whom no one said Kaddish. Since she had the means, she regularly visited the yeshiva of Pressburg, where she gave the director a substantial amount for students to say Kaddish to elevate the souls of those who died without living relatives. Perla treasured this mitzvah above all. She felt great satisfaction having the privilege to grant merit to Jewish deceased ones without a family. Years went by and the tables turned. Perla's husband died suddenly, and she found herself raising her children and making a living by herself. Unfortunately, her financial situation deteriorated each day to the point that she didn't even own the amount she used to donate to the yeshiva to say Kaddish. With her generous heart, she overcame her sadness to focus on one thing only. Now that she couldn't, who was now going to worry about the poor Jewish souls who couldn't rest in peace without Kaddish being said in their memory? This question tormented her, but she found no solution. Eventually, she decided to go see the head of the yeshiva to tell him the truth. With a broken heart, she announced sadly, "I'm no longer in a position to pay a student to say Kaddish, but I beg you to consider carrying on. When my situation will improve with Hashem's help, I will repay you." Moved by her devotion, the head of the yeshiva accepted, and Perla left relieved and with a renewed strength. So now she needed to find the funds necessary to marry her first two daughters. And with her current means, it was not going to be easy. Still, she trusted in Hashem, as she always did in any difficult situation. The next day, as she was walking in the street, Perla crossed paths with a smiling old man with a bright face and a long white beard. She had never seen anyone like him before. This man unexpectedly approached her to greet her and engage her in conversation. She didn't know why, but Perla opened up to him. He inspired trust in her, so she told him how her situation changed after she lost her husband, her financial struggles, and the fact that she couldn't afford to marry her two daughters. The old man listened carefully before asking, "How much would you need to pay for your two daughters' wedding?" "Why do you ask?" she replied, surprised. "What could you possibly do about it?" The old man insisted. So after a brief calculation, Perla suggested a rather high amount. The stranger immediately wrote a check with which he handed to Perla, saying, "This is the money you need. You can give it to the bank tomorrow morning, but since it is a big amount, it is best that two students of the yeshiva witness me signing it. Go fetch them. I'll wait here." Astounded, Perla wondered whether she was dreaming. A few minutes later, she came back with two students who watched as the old man signed his check. The first student later became Rav Chaim Sonnenfeld, the famous Rav of Yerushalayim, while the second became Rav Yehuda Grunwald, leader of the Satmar community in Hungary. On her way home, Perla didn't know what to make of all this. Why did the stranger show so much interest in her situation by being so kind to her? Maybe he was just crazy. So while she doubted the check would be valid, she still decided to try, and she went to the bank the next day. She got there, put the check down on the counter with a shaky hand, and waited. The clerk arrived, looked at the check, and gave Perla a suspicious look when he saw the high amount she had come to cash. "Please wait, I have to show this to the director," he said. Now upon seeing the check, the director let out a cry and lost consciousness. Suspecting fraud, Perla was placed under custody. Shortly after, the director regained consciousness and asked to speak to the lady in his office. Still in shock, he asked, "When did you receive this check? And who gave it to you?" Perla shyly replied, "I got it yesterday from a very respectable-looking old man. Two yeshiva students can confirm." The director was disconcerted. "I show you a portrait of him. Do you be able to recognize him?" Perla nodded. He brought the portrait in question. She immediately exclaimed, "That's him! I have no doubt." Despite being deeply shaken, the director authorized the check and explained, "You might not believe it, but the man who gave you the check is my father, who died over 10 years ago. Last night he came to me in a dream and said, 'Know that since you turned away from Torah and married a non-Jew, my soul has found no rest. I suffered much until this woman asked to say Kaddish to elevate the soul of all those who had no one to say it for them. Thanks to her, I could finally merit rest and peace. This lady will come tomorrow to the bank with a check from me. You will allow her to cash it.' Then I woke up totally upset. I told my wife and she laughed at me. Now I know it was real." After these events, the director's life turned around. He slowly started keeping mitzvahs. His wife converted to Judaism when she heard that the dream was real, and he established a full Jewish home. Shabbat Shalom.